Hello, the purpose of this screencast is to walk through what it will look like and sound like to provide our friend Demontre with explicit reading instructions. So I'm just going to walk through his lesson briefly, and then please know if you have any additional questions about what the lesson looks like and sounds like implementation-wise, please let me know. So the first component will just be about 1 minute, and that's going to be Demontre's phonological awareness warm-up. So you'll notice you'll have access to a sheet or a skill that looks similar to this. And really the purpose is to just get him articulating sounds and really hearing the sounds and parts of each word. So for example, we would start at the very first part of the skill that he will be working on. So say birthday, birthday, now say birthday, but don't say birth. So you can see that birth is in parentheses. We would encourage Demontre then to say day on his own. The hope would be that we continue to work towards the skill that he's working on and having him be automatic within 2 seconds. So again, this is just a quick warm-up activity, and the materials will look like this. After that, you'll move into sight words. So that's where we'll introduce new sight words and then reread and practice any previous sight words that were taught. So Demontre's sight words will look like this. You'll notice that it'll have a week 1, 2, and 3 as he continues to automatize sight words that he's working on. So here's an example of what his sight word list will look like. While you're working on sight words, you can encourage him to include some of the large body movements. So for example, if we are reading and going back through and reviewing the word at, we could encourage him to stick his arms straight out, keeping his elbows straight, and skywriting the word at in the air. So after that, we'll take a look at the next part of Demontre's plan. And this is where we'll review or introduce a new letter pattern. So in this component, we'll be focusing on a new letter or letter pattern of the day. So for example, A as in can, A-N, or I as in big. And that will be outlined in his specific lesson plans as far as what the pattern is that he's working on for that specific day. You can tell in lesson 1 that the pattern would be the short A sound ah, but followed by that end rhyme t. So cat, at would be that focus for today's lesson. During this time, Demontre will really have a chance to be more so working on the reading component, as he'll be working on the writing component with Mrs. Jones. So this is where, if it were to be lesson 1, he would practice the pattern with the word cards, and then the rest of that time would be spent reading the passage on the back of the lesson. So I will go back over to this lesson plan and the word cards that you'll have access to. So during this time, we would have, you can see it's outlined here, students spell and say each word in the word list, point to each letter of the word moving from left to right, having the students identify the letter, for example, k, a, t, that spells cat. Once the students knows what to do, have them continue to point to each letter and spell the word. The teacher provides the word and the student repeats it in part 1. So we'll continue to do that with the rest of the words, and then after that we'll move on to step 2, where the student, Demontre, would be reading the phrases within the outlined plans. So we'll pull that back up, and you'll notice below he has phrases, so reading those phrases. And then the student will read the words at the bottom of the page. These words have only 1 letter difference and are meant to help the students establish a firm grasp of the sound letter correlations between the CVC pattern. So this is where we would encourage them to read it at a quicker rate: cat, mat, at, bat, bat, hat. The passages aren't in this example, but after you get done with the word card and the phrase cards, you would move on to the passages on the back. So once we get into the passages, that's where we would really think about that gradual release model with Demontre. So we could read the passage first. We could echo read with him. So teacher reads a sentence, student reads a sentence, teacher reads a sentence, student reads a sentence. and then encourage Demontre to read that passage on his own. At the very end of the lesson plan, the student will end with a phonological awareness warm-up, and that's where we go back to giving him the skill that he's working on. So this is the phonological awareness warm-up piece. As I mentioned, if you have any additional questions between now and next week, please feel free to let me know. And thank you for all of your support and help.